The Family Law Act of Australia 1975 was created oh so long ago, but is it still relevant today for you and your family in 2021? Hi, I'm Richard Bakoss, the Principal Solicitor here at Camden Solicitors and Conveyancers. If you have family law inquiries that you want advice on, you can find us by using the electric computerised device thingy next to your finger. Click here, up there I think it is, where the website details will give you all of that stuff. Click on your phone, your laptop, your desktop, your iPad, you're all in one, whatever it is, whichever vehicle you've chosen on whatever flavour of the black art of the techno battle, where you've decided on Windows, apples, apricots, or a variety of other fruits, Android, Linux, Google, Bing, YouTube, whatever floats your boat. We're totally agnostic here at Camden Solicitors and Conveyancers. You can even ring us on the telephone. Details on the website. I'm a lawyer admitted to practice in New South Wales for over a decade, where I've been practicing in family law for that period, and I'm also registered at the High Court of Australia. But I don't know the facts regarding your matter. I haven't considered them or provided an advice to you, so don't rely on what I'm telling you. You'll have to get your own independent advice where your details are taken into consideration. This presentation is in relation to family law, as I alluded to earlier. Case in point, human beings are a social creature. We like to form groups with other human beings. It's part of our makeup. Once you enter the world as a child, time passes, and all of a sudden, sometimes without you even noticing, you're no longer a child. Typically, this is at the age of 18. There are swings and roundabouts in relation to that, though, when you become an adult. Your sex sometimes can have something to do with that, depending on your circumstances. However, I'm not going to go into great level of details in relation to that. You can look at my other videos to check out what will make distinctions in relation to that. Human beings have a habit of hooking up. It's just part of life as we know it. That's where it gets interesting, though. After an initial romance of one form or other, short, long, slow, fast, doesn't really matter how it happens, sooner or later, typically, a family unit forms. It can be a family or a domestic relationship. They're typically the legal terms used. With children or without children. Family law in Australia here is a federal law. That's right, it's not a state law. Family law comes from Canberra and covers the nation. It all started in 1975 with the introduction of the Family Law Act 1975. It's a long time ago though, and it's been updated and tweaked roughly, 1,000 times, say, maybe. Most recently though, and most importantly, it was tweaked again in August 2020, about a year ago. Why is that important? Because it involved a total rejig of the primary two courts that deal with family law in this country. Got to put a proviso in here, so we'll just take a bit of a side direction for a second. The federal law covers the nation, however, you got to love those howevers, don't you? Western Australia has additional legislation which must be considered, including the Family Court Act 1997 of Western Australia. So it's specific and only involves West Australia. So they're special over there in the West. Western Australia has its own legislation, and it's different from that we must consider everywhere else. They don't refer to don't refer to this video as being inclusive for those people in West Australia. In fact, you can switch off now if you like. However, the Family Law Act of Australia 1975, the Federal Act, is enforced in West Australia, but there is just that other legislation. I'll leave it at that. I'll just say as a general point to everyone watching this video that, again, I haven't considered your particular circumstances, and you should not rely on anything that I'm telling you. What I'm saying in this video is general in nature, and you will need to seek your own independent legal advice. Family law has two primary courts in this country, except for in WA. They are the Family Court of Australia and also the Federal Circuit Court of Australia. The court breakdown is like this. Most family law matters are dealt with in the Federal Circuit Court. These are typically the less complicated matters, involving financial assets, say of less than $500,000, but typically these cases go for less than 4 days. Matters that go for 4 days or 5 days or more, that are more complex, that have bigger financial consideration, over $1 million, $500,000 up to, it could be any amount, they're dealt with in the family court. So we've got the distinction here, the Federal Circuit Court, and then we've got the family court. All right. Remember those howevers that I was mentioning earlier? All right, so we've got another one. Let's just backtrack a little bit. All right, so the Federal Circuit Court and the Family Court are the two primary courts. However, the local court of New South Wales can also deal with some family law matters, and does from time to time. It's very much the lesser of the courts in relation to family law. However, it does deal with courts. It deals with matters that don't involve children. It can deal with consent orders in relation to property only. And typically you'll have to speak to your lawyer about it, but the local court can also deal with family law matters. All right, so what's the family court really interested in? Really, what's it really interested in? All right, well, it's interested in two things. And if this is the only thing you remember from this video, then maybe that's enough. It's interested in children, and it's also interested in property. The fact that one party may have slept around, had an additional relationship, has formed an additional relationship, has had an affair, that a love triangle has gone wrong, the court is not really that interested in those facts. They'll need to know those facts if they have to determine the matter, but they are, in all intents and purpose, very much less important than what's in the children's best interest in determining the matter in relation to the two things they're interested in, be they children and property. Your financial affairs with regards to the children will be decided and in relation to who is the primary carer of the child and who will, and the time that the other party will spend with the child. They are the things that the court will determine, and that's it. And judges will tell you, in my experience, judges will tell you that the best outcomes are achieved by the parties themselves if they can negotiate and by consent decide a matter, what an outcome should be, through a mediation, through intermediaries if that's what's required, through agreement. The best advice you'll typically get is that your best interests can be resolved through a good outcome decided between the parties. But alas, things do end up in court. Lawyers can help in the process before it gets to court to have it determined before a court will have to determine it, and lawyers can also help if the matter has to go to court. But it's true, really, lawyers can help with getting the best outcomes possible without going to court. And a lawyer should be engaged. The earlier a lawyer is engaged, it can actually save the parties a great deal of money because it stops wasting time. But alas, let's move on. Matters that do go to court. In these circumstances, matters are determined by the court, and there are 4 types of matters that the court will list you to have to attend. They're for the initial mention, interim hearing if it is to be decided on an interim basis, a call over to set it down for a final hearing. All right, so they're the 4 different hearings. There are also things like applications in a case, which can take things off at a tangent, and your lawyer can assist you with those things. I hope this video has been of assistance to you, and good luck. And remember, the sun will rise in the east tomorrow, unless of course you're on the North or South Pole, in which case it might rise over there or there. But be it as it may, the sun will rise tomorrow, and lawyers can help you get through this experience in the most efficient way possible. One final thing, in getting you there, it actually saves you money, because as I said it earlier, lawyers will focus the parties on dealing with the main things that the Family Law Act will consider. It saves you time and money, and they're the things that typically people benefit the most from not having to spend time off work, attend court, make arrangements for children if there's children in the matter, and it typically saves you a lot of time. I'm Richard Bakoss.